Hi, I'm John Morby. I'm going to be talking to you today about Grindhouse. So what is Grindhouse, you ask? Is it a coffee shop? No. Is it a movie by Quentin Tarantino? Not quite. Why don't we ask Quentin what he thinks Grindhouse is?
But tell me what Grindhouse means.
Well, Grindhouse, I do believe it was a variety coin term, but what it represented was old dilapidated movie theaters that are in the urban areas, the big city urban areas of America, like Kansas City or Chattanooga or Los Angeles or New York or Chicago, and they were like old dilapidated theaters, and in some cases, like might have been the big, vaudeville houses of the day, showing basically double and triple features of exploitation movies of all kind of, lurid subject matter, whether it be horror films or sexploitation nurse movies or cheerleader movies or blaxploitation movies, and you always kind of took your life a little bit in your hands by going to see it, but it just showed your commitment to cinema a little more.
Yeah, a lot of sex, a lot of violence.
Yeah.
Okay, so that actually does pretty much sum up what is Grindhouse. But he talked about exploitation movies. So what are exploitation movies? Well, this starts way back in the 1920s when movie studios used to exploit their actors. They'd sign them up on these ludicrous contracts where they'd have to make 20, 30, 40, even 50 films on a set salary before they could renegotiate and then actually start to earn some proper money. So the studios would make a fortune if the actor was good. They wouldn't lose any money if the actor was bad. And at the end of it, you'd find that the really good actors then did start to make some money, if they weren't already burnt out, having made 50 films over a 2 or 3 year period. Moving forward, World War II has happened. America's seen a new level of prosperity, but then the recession hits and movie houses are struggling. Television has arrived. They've already started to reduce the cost of a cinema ticket down to as low as $1. And studios were starting to make a lot of B-movies for not a lot of money, maybe $200,000, which is about $1 million in today's money.
In the beginning, when they were doing B-movies, they would make about, 10 copies, and they'd start in New York.
If that.
10 copies.
That was
a wide release.
Yeah, my goodness.
That's a wide release, 10 prints.
Warner Brothers did 10 copies.
So one would start in New York, one little copy, one print, show here, then go to Philadelphia, then maybe down to Washington, then out to Chicago, and then maybe to Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're actually starting the high end. Probably starting Chattanooga.
Compare that to something like Cleopatra, which had a budget of, I think, 36 million US dollars, which in today's money is 250 million US dollars. Ludicrous amounts of money. But it was a cast of thousands. It had Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton, two really hot properties. It made a lot of money, but it wasn't the sort of thing that we're talking about now. We're talking about B-movies. Without A-movies like Cleopatra, you can't have B-movies. B-movies, low budget, low quality, lots of continuity errors. They were made quickly, cheaply, from third-party production houses. And they would print maybe only 10 copies of them. And then those 10 copies would slowly do the circuits of the Midwest and of America. And as Quentin says, they might end up start in Chattanooga, but that would be a high point. And they go around the Midwest and all the drive-ins and all the small towns. And these films would only be promoted in the town they were showing. So you'd find that something like Swinging Cheerleaders, a Jack Hill film, that would appear in a town, and for that week there'd be a big hullabaloo. There would be lecturers, there'd be handouts, there'd be memorabilia being sold, and you'd find that they'd even say, we have nurses on staff to treat you if you pass out from the shocking content. Not the shocking acting, and believe me, the acting in some of these things is diabolical. But they were selling and they were filling the theatres, and it wasn't costing a lot of money, and a lot of these films did actually make their money back. Jack Hill was one of the main directors of the time. He made films like The Swinging Cheerleaders, Switchblade Sisters, Foxy Brown, Coffee, The Big Birdcage, The Incredible Invasion, The Big Dollhouse. The Big Dollhouse was a women in prison movie, lesbian prison guards. Big Dollhouse. They cage their bodies, but not their desires. Soft young girls behind hard prison bars. They'd do anything for a man, or to him. Kind of leads you to think that there's going to be some nakedness, some raunchy scenes, some desperate women desperate for sex. And if you're in doubt, naked lust that builds to a climax of death. Boiling passions confined behind concrete walls. Lots of concepts and prospects of sex in the cinema, on the screen. This is what people were coming along to see. They were looking to be titillated. You find a lot of exploitation movies are actually soft porn movies, but not all of them. There were slasher movies, there were car chase movies. There's so many different exploitation genres, Nazi exploitation, and lots of movies about Hitler being beaten up and the Nazis being idiots. There were movies about nuns in compromising and erotic positions, nunsploitation. Lots of Mexican films, mexploitation. But yeah, so you've got a lot of exploitation movies, blaxploitation. That was a term coined by a black person, not Hollywood. But there were lots of so many different exploitation genres, Nazi exploitation, and lots of movies about Hitler being beaten up and the Nazis being idiots. There were movies about nuns in compromising and erotic positions, nunsploitation. There were lots of black power movies. In 1965, the Voting Rights Act in America gave black people the right to vote, equal rights with men and women, white men and women. Black people then also got the vote. So 1965, the 1960s, black power was and civil rights was very much in the public mind. Jackie Brown, which was actually another Quentin Tarantino movie, that character originally was white. When the film was made, they cast Pam Grier, who was a huge blaxploitation star from the 70s. They cast her in the main role. Anyway, let's go and see what Quentin has to say about the quality of the films.
He wouldn't.
It wasn't a great one.
But by the time it got to Chattanooga, or wherever it was going, it had been scratched.
Oh, yeah. They're playing in the worst projectors that were in operation.
And so whoever saw it after the 10th screening saw something different than the people in beginning.
But the weird thing is like having a film print collection, that becomes almost part of the experience. And either showing them at my house or showing them in Austin at the film festival I do, kind of the quality of the print creates this communal atmosphere inside of the cinema. And and also we're playing with the idea that these prints are kind of like Frankenstein monsters. They're kind of made up of different sources. So you could watch a print and this reel is all red, this reel is faded, but then all of a sudden there's this IB Technicolor reel and there it looks gorgeous.
So what does this mean for the future of Grindhouse? Is Grindhouse dead? When the cinemas closed and the drive-ins closed in the 80s, does that mean the end of Grindhouse? Well, not entirely. There's a bit of a hiatus. The B-movies were shown on the television. Mystery Science Theatre 3000 started showing a lot of the B-movies with commentaries and sarcasm. But moving forwards, 2007, as we've seen, Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez released Grindhouse, which was 2 movies, Death Proof and Planet Terror. And Rodriguez has gone on to also create Machete in 2010, Machete Kills in 2013, and he's slated to, or at least in pre-production, have Machete Kills again in space.
Tell me about the fake trailer, which is...
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what we did is, part of our thing to do with this movie was we wanted to create... truly like the experience of going to the movies back in the 70s in these kind of theaters. And look, Planet Terror, you take it out of the Grindhouse and you show it. It's got to work completely as a movie on itself without any of this other stuff. Same thing about Death Proof. But you put it together, it needs to actually be even more than just like buying a ticket to a movie. It needs to be a ride. It needs to be the Grindhouse experience from beginning to end. And the only way to really do that is to create all the stuff that bracketed these 2 movies and actually have an intermission with wild trailers from different exploitation genres and really kind of give that whole experience. And so Robert did one of them himself, Machete, which is sort of stars the actor Danny Trejo. Robert's always been saying he's the Mexican Charles Bronson. And
Mexploitation.
Yeah, Mexploitation. And so that really gets everything going. And then me and Robert were just excited about our project, so we have other friends, so we're just mentioning it to them. Eli Roth, who did Hostel, Edgar Wright, who did Shaun of the Dead, Rob Zombie. We would just bring it up, and then they were like, "Wow, that sounds amazing! I would like to do one of those," you know. And we're actually dealing with guys who are actually as savvy about this stuff as we are. So, like, just as an example. Edgar Wright does one. Now, his is like a British horror film from the 70s, but it's the American trailer, which means they never let any of the actors talk, because in America, they didn't want anyone to know that it was a British movie until you were already in the theater.
It was too late.
It's too late.
We got the money.
We got the money.
Let them know.
Well, traditionally, Grindhouse relied on exploitation movies. Exploitative marketing, exploitative techniques, political or social issues that they could exploit. It was a different time. That said, there are issues today that can be exploited. The war between America and Mexico. Machete and Machete Kills. Target that. Machete was released in 2010, originally a fake movie for a fake trailer, that Rodriguez then decided to turn into a real movie, talking about the wall. It's now 2017, Trump is President of the United States, and he's trying to build a wall between Mexico and America. Who'd have thought it? As far as exploitative marketing goes, we're still seeing that today with Twitter, with Facebook, with YouTube. It's now called viral marketing, but it's still exploiting people to go and see the films. It's still exploiting subjects and subject matter, making them go, oh, that looks interesting, maybe I want to see that. Clicking on it and watching it on streaming, on Vimeo, on YouTube. I've never yet known Hollywood make a film that hasn't resulted in somebody being exploited. Every film is an exploitation film, to one degree or another. But exploiting subject matter is more of a niche sector, and that's something that we're still seeing indie filmmakers doing today. So maybe Grindhouse isn't dead. Maybe Grindhouse has just moved to the internet. Maybe Grindhouse is now YouTube, Vimeo, and all of the other streaming services. You can publish your videos online. You don't have to have big distribution contracts. You distribute them yourselves, one area at a time, one region at a time, one town at a time, one website at a time, one tweet at a time. John Morby, signing off.
This film is a brilliant achievement in motion picture history. Finally, the truth about Hitler's diabolical plans to create a race of superwomen can be told. Werewolf Women of the SS. Welcome to Death Camp 13, home of the Nazis' diabolical plans to create an army of super werewolf soldiers.
This project, its failure, will be your demise and the end of Germany, Bowman.
You have been chosen.